China sent dozens of warplanes and ships near Taiwan to show its anger over the island's new leaders. Now, there are two major parties in Taiwan, and I might get this one name wrong.
I believe you pronounced it wrong. It should be Taiwan on.
Taiwan on. Yeah. If there's a Taiwan, that implies there's a Tai too.
Yeah.
Let's not do this.
Let's not do that.
Let's not do this. Anyway, the Democratic Chinese People's Party, I think, is one of the big political parties in China. But the other one is the important one, and that's Kuomintang. That's the People's Republic. Now, everybody knows about Mao, and everybody knows about the revolution, and everybody knows about what Mao did in 1953 with the purges and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Very few people know what happened before that, between World War I, listen to me, between World War II, 1944, 1945, when they forced the Japanese out finally, after having been occupied for a very long time, and 1949, they had a civil war. And the side of the Chinese Republic was a general named Chiang Kai-shek. And his wife became famous because she was just such an excellent diplomat. But Chiang Kai-shek was a genius tactician and managed to beat Mao's armies for a very long time until Mao just finally overwhelmed him with numbers.
He was getting support from Russia. The Soviets or the communist CCP from China that was fighting against them was getting direct support from Russia.
Yes, they were also getting direct support from Russia, and Chiang Kai-shek was still giving him a hard time.
Yep.
Now, finally, in 1949, it was, I think, December 1949, Chiang Kai-shek's forces were forced to flee China, and a great many of them fled to Taiwan with Chiang Kai-shek's corps. One of the things that I found when I was researching this years and years ago, because I was researching the Chinese triads, because I'm that weird kid who looks into stuff like that, is there was a Chinese triad called 14K who were working with Chiang Kai-shek because they wanted to keep the ports open because that's what mobs do. It's their biggest asset is trade
or money.
That's how they make their money.
Yeah.
A lot of them ended up going to Taiwan with Chiang Kai-shek's people. They set up a government there, and it's still there to this day, 60 years later.
70
years later. 70 years later. Yeah. And the Chinese hate them. They hate Taiwan mostly because of Chiang Kai-shek and his Kuomintang. Prior to that, Taiwan had been a Japanese protectorate. And before that, it was mostly like a Chinese backwater, is my understanding. It has a couple of vital trade ports, Taipei, and another one at the opposite end.
I'm glad you know those names. I would never remember those.
Well, sure. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I speak a little Chinese.
I can understand that.
No. Anyway, on the southwest corner of Taiwan, I think there's another port that's pretty important. Chinese piracy, by the way, is fascinating stuff. Look into Chinese piracy. So here's this little island, and it's got this little republic from the Kuomintang, from Chiang Kai-shek, who was Mao's arch enemy. The CCP has forever insisted that Taiwan is a Chinese province, and they have threatened to invade over and over again, but they've never actually done it. Now, America is weakening.
Yes.
Now the Chinese are an economic force that they have never been before. Now the Chinese Navy has more boats than our Navy by quite a bit.
Well, actually, I just covered this on Sunday with the supporters.
Do it.
You are correct. They do have more boats and what have you. I believe we've got them beat on tonnage.
They have no real deep water navy.
No, they don't.
There are very few deep water navies.
Well, they have 3 aircraft carriers now.
But those still aren't classed for like real deep water action.
Yet,
yeah. Like we can project from Honolulu to Taipei with Pac Fleet. Those boats can go through any water, period. I found myself on one in 2002 despite joining the army to stay on dry land, somehow task force decided they needed to be on the Blue Ridge.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah.
No, that's why I did not go in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, that's why I joined the army, was to stay on dry land again.
That's right.
Yeah. No, you need to operate with these guys. Like, no. I don't like boats. Anyway, China has now done a couple of exercises, and the first one was on the 23rd, and I believe they're still going to a degree, but they've been mock attacking Taiwan's airspace.
Correct.
They've been doing naval drills off the coast, and some of the stuff that I saw in Colonel Murray's chat, I believe it was Michael Yan who threw it up there, but I don't remember for sure. Some maps were put up that looked like, you know what impact areas are?
Oh, yeah.
Exclusion zones.
Mm-hmm.
When you fire artillery, you map out impact areas so that your guys don't go strolling through it when you hit the button and say the word repeat. Never say repeat over a military radio.
It could be bad.
These boxes are set up so that you don't walk your own guys through the artillery fire. And the artillery elements know where they're putting their rounds. It's a very carefully mapped out thing.
Well, let's be honest here. I do not think the Chinese military, with the lack of resources that they give their people and the lack of training that they do, are probably going to have a hard time maintaining that or setting it up to start with. I could be completely wrong.
Anybody can map a box on a map, dude.
I'm just saying
that part's easy.
Well, yeah, you just draw some lines on a map, but enforcing it, firing into it, not firing into it.
Yeah.
Come on.
Powder charges.
Yeah, they got a conscript army.
3 bags, 4 bags. Let's discuss the Chinese order of battle for a minute.
Oh, yes.
Let's discuss the Chinese order of battle. So, first of all, let me give you a quick definition of what order of battle means. It's really simple. All it means is guys, guns, beans, bullets, command elements, and communications and logistic.
And well, I was going to put support in there. Yeah,
that's support. That's the core of
everything.
What order of battle is, and what it does is give you insight into what their capabilities are. Typically, depending on what we're doing, we'll work from the company level up to the army level when we do order of battle. I want to know what a Chinese infantry company looks like.
Well, another reason you do the order of battle as an intel analyst, say you get a satellite photo of a particular area and you see very specific units like water filtration, and you have electronic warfare or whatever. You just look at the order of battle and go, oh, there's water purification there. And then, oh, look at that. That is a brigade level asset for motorized infantry.
Right. And look over here. Yep. We've got a Sparta unit in the field with them, and they're in this particular area of the map, which probably means it's 5th Corps.
Yeah.
I can still look at a map of North Korea today and draw where all of the core areas are because we studied that particular order of battle to that extent.
And they probably didn't change it much.
No, except for 6th Corps, which tried a military coup in 1994 and was erased, literally erased from history in North Korea.
Wow.
All of the NCOs and their families were all put to death.
Wow.
All of the officers were put to death and their families were sent to death camps. And they decimated the enlisted. They did an actual decimation. 1 out of every 10 was put to death and the rest were assigned to other units.
Wow.
I've never heard of a decemation in modern times, but apparently it happened in 1994 in Korea.
I didn't hear anything about this 1994 shit in Korea. So
heard about what?
That's right. Yeah.
Anyway, there was a coup attempt and there were a bunch of other elements involved. I could talk about 6th Corps basically because it was literally erased from the face of the earth. The units that fought back, that's the part that I can't discuss because it reveals a lot of our knowledge. But 6th Corps was completely erased and it was really, really ugly. They just put whole family lines to death. All of the NCOs.
Wow.
And sent the families to the labor camps and then killed the officers so that the officers knew that their families were sent to the labor camps.
Yeah. I don't know That's what communism is.
Mhm.
That's what it leads
That's
to.
exactly what communism is. Back to the Chinese order of battle. One of the things that we learned during the Korean War, when 24 divisions of Chinese were cycled through the whole war. It was an initial 11 divisions that hit the Yalu River and drove us back.
Oh yeah, that was a huge clusterfuck.
Yes. What we learned is only about 1 in every 10 soldiers at that time was actually armed, and he would just pick up the arms of the guy in front of him who got shot and keep going. And behind them were their officers shooting anybody who tried to run back.
Wow.
But they just had sheer numbers.
Yeah.
They had sheer numbers. Now, SIG to the 90s when we started, I always say SIG and the word is segue, but I don't care. To the 90s when we were studying their order of battle, the Chinese fire maybe 10 rounds in basic training, as opposed to the what's U.S. infantry fire in basic?
Oh God. Let's see. You have a week of BRM where you probably fire anywhere from 120 to
It's 40 rounds a day when I was in.
well, no. In pre BRM, you go up to that line 2 or 3 times every day. So you're doing 120 rounds, and then you do your zeros and all that shit. So you're probably burning through about 150 rounds a day.
150 rounds a day.
And then
Yeah.
at the end of BRM, and it's a week long. At the end of the week, you qualify
With 40 rounds.
with 40 rounds
after firing a couple hundred rounds.
Correct.
The Chinese are firing 10 live rounds. The rest of
Wow.
it, they're using simulators or
Bang bang.
bang bang. Yeah.
Yep.
The North Koreans fired 3
Wow.
when I was doing that stuff in the 90s.
Wow.
3 live rounds. They're not allowed to have a rifle with live rounds that's not staked in on the firing point.
Wow.
It's their rifle is tied in.
I didn't know. That's
Yeah,
beyond
North Korea is
stupid.
extreme. Yeah, that's beyond extreme. What are we getting at?
The professional. Well, all right. Let's be honest. All right.
Do it.
The army that we have or did have 4 years ago, in my opinion, was pretty much battle hardened because of we've been at war on 2 different fronts for 20 plus years. All right. And let's face it. I used to train guys to go to combat, and there's regulations. You open up the regs, there's tables that every soldier has to fire. There's tasks they have to do, anywhere from raid, ambush, break contact, move as a buddy team, move as a fire team, move as part of a squad, move as part of platoon, and there you have it. There's all kinds of tables. So by the time our guys Now, hypothetically, by the time our guys get to the war zone, they're ready to go. They're trained. They know how to use their equipment. It is what it is. If the worst was to happen to them, it was their time, and that's the way it goes. Because, and I know this from experience, my National Guard unit got called up to go to Iraq, and we did not follow the regulations or the tables. We didn't even do half of the tasks we're supposed to do to wind up in fucking Iraq. I fucking threw a big hissy fit. I wrote a letter to the SecDef, had to put on his desk, because I'm not living my life with regret because I didn't say nothing because my people weren't ready to go to war. All right. But if you're going to go against
a lot of that too.
Yeah. If you're going to go to war with another power, you hope that their soldiers are not trained to your standard. There's a big difference. I mean, I talked to guys who tried to train Afghan military, and they said they were completely worthless. They didn't want to fight.
They don't have a concept of discipline,
No.
let alone have any discipline.
Yeah, not to mention they were sending all of their drug addicts to the army because their culture, being a soldier, is lower than being boots on the ground.
Yeah, you're lower than goat shit.
Correct.
And I'm sure we all remember the infamous jumping jack video.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, don't even get me started.
I remember that one.
The Koreans are pretty good. in honesty. Their Marines and their SEALs are a bunch of trigger happy fucking yahoos because they watch too many movies. That's a big problem.
Uh-huh.
But overall, they've got some pretty good discipline, and in cold weather, they'll stand up to just about any American unit. They will do things in cold weather that I've never seen another unit do,
Okay.
like tearing off their shirts and running into a rushing river with like 2 feet of snow on the ground, and then having snow fights and taekwondoing each other in the snow. No, this is real. They do this. It's crazy. But that the Koreans do this tells me that the Chinese will also do this. So climate-wise, they may be more disciplined than our troops.
Of course.
But battle-wise, our troops 20 years ago, the Chinese would have never stood a chance. I don't know what we're fielding today.
Today,
I
we're
don't
fucked.
know what kind of infantry we're fielding today.
Well, here's the thing: is all of the experience that we bled for and paid millions, if not billions of dollars to get has literally walked out of the service because of the fucking rainbow mafia bullshit that's been
The
going on.
last good NCOs are cycling out right now.
Yep.
You've got a good NCO for 10 to 12 years if he stays the whole course.
Yes. Yeah.
That's-
Most guys are not going to stay for 30 plus years like me.
Not anymore.
No.
No way.
Hell, I would have stayed for 40.
Yeah, I would have stayed for 30.
Yep.
Had things not gone differently for me.
Correct.
I would have happily done it. I was at 11 already. I was clearly going to do the rest of it. Here's the other thing with these troops, these Chinese troops, and just about any other country that I've ever experienced, and I'm wondering if you had the same experience too. They're enlisted soldiers. If they don't have somebody behind them yelling orders, they'll stop.
They stop
and wander around.
That's the same thing the Russians are doing.
They won't. Are they really?
Yeah.
The Russian regulars are just kind of like
the Russian regulars. The first wave, they're gone.
They're gooning.
They're gone. Now they have conscripts and replacements that are basically following the old doctrine that you listen to your officers. They don't have that many NCOs. They're
Really?
fucked. Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm certain that the Chinese do this. I'm certain that the North Koreans do this. You can used to be able to watch it when I was stationed on the DMZ in South Korea, and you were literally looking into North Korea because it was only 15 feet away. Remember the line that Trump walked over to shake Baby Jonger's hand?
Mm-hmm.
Remember when he did that? I've stood in exactly that spot more than once. You can watch them drilling their troops on the thing, and you can tell by the way the troops are moving. If you've been in long enough, you know what you're looking at when troops are marching, that those troops can only follow orders. They don't anticipate the preparatory command. When you watch American troops march that know how to march, it's flawless.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a machine, like the old guard, those guys.
Oh, yeah.
These guys were supposed to be the crack North Korean infantry on that DMZ there. And when they were marching them around in their little parade square, you could just tell that if that NCO walked away, that formation would just go.
Correct. That's another good thing that the American Army used to be good at is thriving in chaos. And that was mainly because you had NCOs. And if you ran out of NCOs, there's always some smart ass motherfucker who takes charge.
There was a diary found in a trench, and I believe it was in France in World War II, of a German officer who wrote, "War is hell and chaos, and the American soldier seems to thrive on this. I do not know how we can defeat them."
Yeah.
And I'm paraphrasing, but it was words to that effect.
I think I recall that.
Yeah. We were known when the American Army was the American Army for our incredible adaptability. Now, here we are faced with China and what's going on over here. I need that screen. Oh, hey, good. You brought it up. Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate that. Or did I accidentally do that?
Nope,
Not
that
sure.
was me.
Thank you.
Evil button pushing monkey doing his job.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
The
you're
US is-
welcome. You're very welcome. Very welcome.
Oh, 多谢,多谢,多谢. The U.S. is quietly arming Taiwan to the teeth.
What's the date on this one?
This is recent because that's the new Taiwanese president.
That's from November 2023.
23. Okay. So the last 6 months. They have a new female president, which for Taiwan is incredibly weird. And you probably could imagine there are influences there that have to do with banks.
Yep.
When U.S. President Joe Biden recently signed off on an $80 million grant to Taiwan for the purchase of American military equipment, China said, how does that work? Here's some money to buy stuff from us.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. First of all, I'm sick and tired of giving people our money.
And stuff.
Yeah.
China says it deplores and opposes what Washington had done. To the casual observer, it didn't appear a steep sum. It was less than the cost of a single modern fighter jet. Taiwan has already on order more than $14 billion worth of U.S. military equipment. So what does a miserly $80 million more matter? I'll take it.
Yeah.
Give me $80 million. While Fury is Beijing's default response to any military support for Taiwan, this time something was different. The $80 million was not a loan. It came from American taxpayers. You're welcome. For the first time in more than 40 years, America is using its own money to send weapons to a place it officially doesn't recognize. This is happening under a program called Foreign Military Finance. In other words, it is money laundering because we give $80 million to Taiwan to buy military equipment from who? Northrop Grumman, Boeing, Lockheed.
Well, let's just say
It's
the
money
military industrial complex.
Yes, military industrial complex. This is obvious, straight up money laundering. Now, something was mentioned there. Taiwan is not recognized by the United States, but it is broadly supported by the United States, and we have had industry there since the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Beijing loses its mind anytime anyone tries to bring up Taiwan's independence at the UN.
Oh, yeah.
Straight up loses their mind. So
also, there's other individuals in the UN who won't even acknowledge Taiwan.
Yes, that's correct.
I mean, that's kind of fucking creepy, in my opinion.
It's just bizarre. It's just bizarre. But the most bizarre one of all is the United States, who says Taiwan does not exist, and we did not just give them a whole bunch of military equipment or $80 million.
Billion.
Million.
It's million?
80 million. That's the point of this article. It's such a small amount.
Okay.
That's, like they said, the cost of like a fighter plane.
All right. I don't know, man.
It's laundering.
Yeah.
Somebody required an $80 million payment. Taiwan, here, launder this for us.
Well, they already do it in Ukraine.
It's exactly. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine last year, foreign military finance has been used to send around $4 billion of military aid to Kyiv. It's money laundering. They're laundering your money. After the U.S. switched diplomatic recognition from Taiwan to China in 1979, it continued to sell weapons to the island under the terms of the Taiwan Relations Act. The key was to sell just enough weapons so that Taiwan could defend itself against possible Chinese attack, but not so many that they would destabilize relations between Washington and Beijing. Taiwan is a postage stamp. Taiwan is not going to field an army that can invade China.
Oh, no.
That war was already fought and lost in 1949.
Correct.
So where did it go? For decades, the U.S. has relied on this so-called strategic ambiguity to do business with China while remaining Taiwan's staunchest ally. There's the whole, what Taiwan? What?
Now, how can you be a staunch ally if you don't acknowledge? Yeah, that's stupid.
You like that?
Yeah.
That's some chicanery right there.
Yeah.
That is some diplomatic shit-wizzery.
Correct.
But in the last decade, the military balance across the Taiwan Straits has tipped dramatically in China's favor. The old formula no longer works. Washington insists its policy has not changed, but in crucial ways it has. The U.S. State Department has been quick to deny FMF implies any recognition of Taiwan, but in Taipei, it's apparent that America is redefining its relationship with the island, especially so given the urgency with which Washington is pushing Taiwan to rearm, and Taiwan, which is outmatched by China, needs help. Again, Taiwan cannot fight a war against China. But what I think might be going on is the United States is, and you're going to love this part, collapsing economically.
Correct.
Nobody has said that until just now when I said it, except for the several hundred people before me who have been saying this for the last
Well, over the past 3
6 to
years,
10 years.
there's been a lot of people really harping on that.
I know that I was being very
No, I
facetious.
know. I'm just fucking with you.
That's fine. I appreciate that. What do you see going on here with this?
Well, what I see is this. The only thing Taiwan can do if China decides to attack is play for time. They do not have the resources to actually offensively fight China on its mainland. And
No.
the 6 mile, of ocean between China and Taiwan is one hell of an obstacle or barrier. And if China was going to invade Taiwan, you would see one hell of a military buildup right off of one of their coasts, just like we did during D-Day when we hit Germany or France to go up against Germany. It's going to require a lot of people. So if Taiwan, I believe we covered the numbers, they have like 170,000 active and 1.6 million reserves. They could probably call back maybe 1 million of these reserves. That gives them, 1.2 million soldiers defending Taiwan. That means China would probably have to assault with 3+ million troops, especially if they don't have, if they can't get air power over Taiwan. That's a lot of moving parts for a military that really is modernized itself in 2013 ish. But here's the thing though, is it would be very hard for China to actually be able to take over Taiwan if South Korea and Japan decide to assist Taiwan. I just don't see a good outcome.
There's an argument to be made in either direction there. China has the advantage that Japan self-neutered in 1945.
For now. They're rebuilding.
And they've got a very good defense force. The
Yes.
Japanese defense force is incredibly competent. At least it was when I saw it last 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But they haven't ventured forth since then. The South Koreans, however, have participated in every major action that the United States has participated in since the Korean War. We had elements in Vietnam. We had elements in Iraq.
Oh yeah, the Vietnamese were terrified of the South
Tigers.
Koreans.
Yeah. The South Korean SOF. I've got a beret and a shirt and a couple of patches from those guys.
Yeah.
We got to work with their SOF a little bit. The Koreans have had the battlefield experience. They might come to their aid, but I don't know if Japan wants to rock the economic boat.
I understand that, but right now, China and Japan are having some issues because China keeps building these artificial islands.
Yeah.
And expanding their influence.
Yes.
Yeah. At some point that's going to come to a head.
They're using maritime law. Every time they build one of these islands, they get X amount of miles of water around that island.
Correct.
So they're literally building their landmass outward. It's like a bad version of Sid Meier's Civilization.
Well, I heard that
video game.
Yeah, I've read some reports that those islands are actually sinking.
I don't know.
So
it seems silly to me because another thing you and I discussed before the show when we were watching on sinkholes
and eating.
And eating. Mother Nature doesn't care. Dude.
Yeah, that's right.
Doesn't care what you build. If Mother Nature wants it, it's gone. It's gone.
We'll get flicked off the earth like a booger.
Yeah.
Done deal.
That was I told Pop about we were going to evacuate a village during the worst monsoons in Korean history in 114 years. 1998. We're on one mountain looking at another mountain, going to this village over here, and the mountain just goes and erases the village. And in the movies, you see the landslide starting to rumble in a little, oh no, here comes the landslide. Oh gosh, golly, no. Korea is fault rock granite. So it was a big, huge 300-foot long granite Ginsu knife that just removed the village from existence. We found like a handful of survivors. Took 300, 400, 500 people out. It was a little tiny village.
Yeah,
we knew that they needed
in a
to get out
minute.
of there.
In a minute.
No, it was literally seconds.
Seconds. Okay.
It was seconds. The side of the mountain just went, eh. And there was nothing there anymore. We're like, oh my God.
What can you do? There's nothing you can do.
Literally nothing you can do.
Yeah,
That got a couple of our Camo guys down by Pyeongtaek too. Got a landslide, got 2 of our Camo guys, 3 of our Camo guys. The escalation of China's military activity around Taiwan is being watched with growing alarm from around the world, with neighboring powers in the Asia Pacific urging the two to maintain peace and stability. There's huge trade at stake here.
Yes.
China and Taiwan both are trade powers.
Well, hang on.
Taiwan produces a lot of superconductors and stuff.
Yes, Taiwan makes an ass load of chips,
Yes.
superconductors.
Yes.
China wants that. They also make their own chips and superconductors as well.
Yeah.
And China's probably like, if we can take over Taiwan, double your money.
Or we don't have to have child slave labor anymore.
They'll have child slave labor anyway. It'll just be Taiwanese child slave labor.
Yeah, true.
According to U.S. intelligence, which these days, having been there and done that myself, I find suspect, Chinese President Xi Jinping has instructed his country's military to be ready by 2027 to invade Taiwan. And here's why I said I find our intelligence questionable these days. That is the most generalized intelligence statement I have ever seen in my life.
Well, it's 2024 now, right?
It is 2024, but you can say that about anything. I would like you to be ready by the year X.
Well, they started building up for D-Day in 41, end of 41, beginning of 42. Took about 2 years, 2+ years.
For D-Day?
Yeah.
That was 1944.
Mm-hmm. D-Day kicked off in 44, and they started the planning and setting up in 42.
Ghost armies at Calais?
I think they were put there sometime in 43-ish.
43?
Mm-hmm.
We need to look at that timeline.
It's not a show on World War II. I'm just saying.
I know. I understand. Rabbit hole.
But the thing is, if they say 2027, we should start seeing China putting, bases and infrastructure in now. And we can see that from satellites, because you can still look at China on Google Earth.
Yes, that is correct.
Now, do I think it's 100% accurate? No, I don't.
Not.
But if they're going to build all of that infrastructure to house 3 million people, you'd see it.
I might know that the satellite imagery is not always as accurate as you might think.
I might think you're correct in that.
well, that, and if we need to distract the U.S. intelligence agencies, all they have to do is just send another weather balloon across our country, and it'll get about halfway through there, and then we'll decide, we need to shoot it down, and then it'll get shot down, and all that data will be lost.
But also we have Elon Musk, who has all kinds of satellites in space as we speak.
Starlink.
He's a wild card in this whole thing. So if they try any shagnanigans, I'm not saying that he would step in and do something. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
I love that he's a modern day Loki.
He's Iron Man.
I don't think he has a side.
No.
I think he has so much money that he's one of those guys that wakes up in the morning and goes, you know what?
That's unfair. Let's throw some money at it.
Let's do that. But Mr. Musk, why? Just do it.
On a side note, it still cracks me up every time I go on Facebook and look at the pictures. Oh my God, all these lines dotted up in the sky, they're all perfectly aligned and they're going through the sky. That's Starlink, dumbasses. You guys are stuck in the early 2000s. Get with the times.
Project Blue Book. You remember the Project Blue Book show in the 70s?
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah, it was great. UFO show. The Air Force guys running around trying to solve UFO problems.
I watched them all.
Absolutely. We were like 7, 8 years old.
And X-Files, watched it all.
The CIA director, William Burns, said that the U.S. must take Mr. Xi's desire to seize control of Taiwan very seriously, even if military conflict is not inevitable. We do know, has been made public, that President Xi instructed the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, the Chinese military leadership, to be ready by 2027 to invade Taiwan. But that doesn't mean he's decided to invade in 2027 or any other year as well. What you have there is a carefully crafted bureaucratic statement by a CIA director, which means fuck all.
I personally think China, number one priority, if it gets ugly, they'll blockade first. They'll try to blockade
I
Taiwan.
would agree with that. I would agree with them attempting sort of a reverse Cuba.
Yes. Though I do know, I think I saw, what was in the news today or yesterday, that we were sending a fleet to that area.
Are our fleets capable of operating that close to the Chinese mainland? Because I know that the Chinese have hypersonic missiles.
Mhm.
And I know that our fleet has never been tested against weapons like that.
Well, let's hope we don't have to find out.
Yeah, I would prefer not to find out. That statement here by CIA Director William Burns is pure bureaucratic milquetoast. It is designed to make you think that there is something you should be concerned of without telling you about what it is that you should be concerned of, and also not revealing enough information for you to actually make any kind of a decision from it. It's stock bureaucratic nonsense.
Let's just be honest. In current year, I cannot put any faith into any alphabet agency run by this government at this time.
Yes.
That is just my opinion.
Yeah.
But with what I've been seeing and hearing, it's not good.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.